Here we are inside the Harmonium Museum. My name is Sabrina and I am happy to welcome you. There are not that many places in the world where you can see such a beautiful assortment of harmoniums. In a few moments, we'll meet the museum's curator, David Todd, but first, let's hear a brief history of the harmonium.
Hi, I'm Jerry. For millennia, people of different cultures have taken objects from nature and in various ways made music with them. Flutes, fashioned from bird bones and mammoth ivory, were found in caves in southern Germany dating from 42,000 years ago. A 60,000-year-old Neanderthal flute was found in Slovenia, thought to be the world's oldest instrument. Large stones called lithophones were hewn and sculpted as far back as 8000 BC. So why would people want to create something external like an instrument instead of using just their voice? All instruments create not only the initial tone, but a series of overtones and harmonics above and below the note. These overtones are different than that of the human voice and broaden the effect on us. As Paramahansa Yogananda states in his Self-Realization Fellowship's Cosmic Chants book, sound or vibration is the most powerful force in the universe. Music is a divine art to be used not only for pleasure, but as a path to God realization. Vibrations resulting from devotional singing lead to attunement with the cosmic vibration or the word. Many of us as children remember taking a blade of grass between our thumbs and blowing with delight to make a sound. This could be considered a familiar example of a primitive free reed instrument. A free reed is a material such as bamboo, metal, or even a blade of grass that produces a sound as air pressure is applied. Part of the reed is held in place, while the other flexes freely, making the sound as it vibrates. This is similar to the membranes in our throats, the vocal cords of the human voice. One of the oldest instruments in China, the sheng, dates back to the 10th century BC. It is a mouth organ with free reeds attached to various lengths of bamboo pipes. Importantly, the sheng was introduced to Europe by Marco Polo at the end of the 13th century. By the late 1700s, the instrument made its way to Denmark, where Christian Gottlieb Kratzenstein, a physiology professor in Copenhagen, was fascinated by the sheng. Its influence on his research would produce his speech machine capable of imitating vowel sounds and the human voice. He won the annual prize in 1780 from the Academy of St. Petersburg, Russia, and was hailed as the inventor of the first free reed instrument in the Western world. Professor Kratzenstein's research fascinated the author, Mary Shelley. She would adapt his name and profession for her classic novel, Frankenstein. When Kratzenstein's free reed instrument made its way to St. Petersburg, Russia, church pipe organs began to incorporate the free reed into their registers or stops. Another term for these stops is vox humana, Latin for human voice. His invention produced a flurry of experimentation on the continent. This now brings us to the development of the harmonium. During this period of experimentation, instrument makers were inspired to make similar free reed instruments: the harmonica, accordion, and bandoneon. In 1810, a harmonium-like instrument was first exhibited by Gabriel Joseph Granier. He called it an orgue expressive, expressive organ, because it had greater expression and could produce a crescendo and decrescendo unlike the organs of the day. 8 years later in Vienna, the Physharmonica was introduced. Similar in function to the harmonium and pump organ, it used foot pedals to control the air flowing over the reeds. A contemporary physician, so impressed by the Physharmonica's crescendo and decrescendo, described its sound as a ghostly voice, without the accents of any earthly substances. The first patented free reed organ was invented in 1842 in France by Alexandre de Bain. His patent was an improvement on earlier designs. He named his invention Harmonium. In the late 1800s, this large European-style harmonium became popular with missionaries and merchants and made its way around the world, including India. With the popularity of the large harmonium, merchants began to demand a more portable version for the export market. The first advertisement for a portable hand harmonium by Harold and Company appears in the Indian Mirror in 1878. During this period, Dworkin and Son, a Calcutta-based importer of instruments, trademarked the Dworkin flute hand harmonium. This innovation worked well with Indian music and with the posture of the Indian musician, sitting on the floor. In an advertisement, Dworkin and Son published a letter by the renowned musicologist Sir Rajra Surendra Mohan Tagore. It read, "Dear Sir, I have examined the Dworkin flute which you have sent me, and I have the pleasure in letting you know that the tone and finish of the instrument leave nothing to be desired. In my opinion, it is very well suited for the execution of operatic pieces and of Indian songs. I recommend your instrument to the musical public. I remain yours faithfully, S.M. Tagore." It was the Indian culture that first understood and incorporated the use of overtones in their instruments. The veena, dating back to the 2nd century BC, the sarod and the sitar have principal strings on top and sympathetic strings underneath. When the fundamental string is played, the sympathetic strings vibrate and create the overtones. Complex in tone and difficult to play, it takes decades under a great teacher to master the sitar and the sarod. But a free reed keyboard like the harmonium is relatively easy to play, allowing the average person to engage these vibratory qualities for devotional songs and chanting. In the late 1800s, a debate had begun to rage in India, centering around the desire to define its heritage and gain independence. The state of Bengal was partitioned in 1905 by the British into East and West Bengal. This sparked a nationalist movement. Anything British was to be rejected. The harmonium was seen by scholars and administrators of the Indian independence movement as an unwelcome foreign musical import, much like the violin. Consequently, it would be banned from all India radio. Even Rabindranath Tagore, the poet laureate, who initially embraced the harmonium and used it to compose many songs, condemned it due to political pressure and forbade its use at his school. It seemed unlikely the instrument would become what it is today. However, popular Indian musicians kept the harmonium alive, and it became the instrument of choice to accompany their singing. With its rich overtones, the harmonium provided a steady, continuous tone that was much easier to master than the classical Indian instruments. The harmonium also was an ideal instrument to teach students the fundamentals of music. Hindus, Sufis, and Sikhs used it for bhajans, qawwali, and kirtan, and Christian missionaries in India used it for their services. In spite of the politics and classical orthodoxy, from rural India to the movie industry, the harmonium began to develop as a popular instrument for devotional music across India. Paramahansa Yogananda, one of the preeminent spiritual figures of modern times, was sent to America in 1920 by his guru to spread the meditation technique of Kriya Yoga. He used the harmonium to accompany devotional chanting. In the Self-Realization Fellowship's Cosmic Chant book, Paramahansa Yogananda recalled a lecture he gave at Carnegie Hall. I suggested to some musical friends the idea of my singing one of these chants, asking the whole audience to join in. My friends thought the chants would be so alien to the American understanding that they warned me to expect overripe tomatoes as a possible commentary on my innovation. I protested that music is the universal language of the soul's devotion to God, and that all soulful people, whether familiar or not with Eastern or Western music, would understand the divine yearning of my heart during chanting. The next evening, while my friends sat behind me on the platform, fearing for my safety, I started to chant, "Oh God, beautiful," and asked the audience, who had never before heard the song, to join me in chanting it. For 1 hour and 25 minutes, the thousands of voices of the entire audience chanted, without discord, "Oh God, beautiful," in a divine atmosphere of joyous praise. Even when I left the stage, the audience sat on, chanting the song. The next day, many men and women testified to the God perception and healings of the body, mind, and soul, which had taken place during the sacred chanting. And numerous requests came in to repeat the song at other services. With its ancient roots and varied models, the harmonium has become a lasting fixture in the world of musical and devotional expression. Portable and easy to play, it is an ideal instrument for both the experienced musician and the aspiring beginner.